Yeah. Okay. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतेरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। शृण्वता स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः हृदयन्तस्तो ये भद्राणि विधुनोते सुहृत्सताम्। Hare Krishna. Welcome back to our daily reading of Srimad Bhagavatam. We are in Canto 3, Chapter 33. We'll be doing verses 15 to 18 today. प्रजापते कर्दमस्य तपोयोगा विजृम्भितम् स्वागा स्वागार्हस्थ्यम् अनौपम्यम् प्रार्थ्यं वैमानिकैरपि. Translation: The home and household paraphernalia of Kardama was one of the Prajapatis was developed in such a way by dint of his mystic powers and austerity. By dint of his mystic powers of austerity and yoga, that his opulence was sometimes envied by those who travel in outer space in airplanes. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The statement in this verse that Kardama Muni's household affairs were envied even by persons who travel in outer space refers to the denizens of heaven. Their airships are not like those who we have invented in the modern age, which fly only from one country to another. Their airplanes were capable of going from one planet to another. There are many such statements in Srimad Bhagavatam from which we can understand that there were facilities to travel from one planet to another, especially in the higher planetary system. And who can say that they are still not traveling? The speed of our airplanes and space vehicles is very limited. But as we have already studied, Kardama Muni traveled in outer space in an airplane which was like a city, and he journeyed to see all different heavenly planets. That was not an ordinary airplane, nor was it ordinary space travel. Because Kardama Muni was such a powerful mystic yogi, his opulence was envied even by the denizens of heaven. Text 16, 17, 18, we'll just do the translation. Text 16, translation. The opulence of the household of Kardama Muni is described herein. The bedsheets and mattresses were all as white as the foam of milk. The chairs and benches were made of ivory and were covered by cloths of lace with golden filigree. And the couches were made of gold and had very soft pillows. Text 17, translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Text 17. Translation. The walls of the house were made of first-class marble, decorated with valuable jewels. There was no need of light, for the household was illuminated by the rays of these jewels. The female members of the household were all amply decorated with jewelry. Purport. It is understood from this statement that the opulences of household life were exhibited in valuable jewels, ivory, first-class marble, and furniture made of gold and jewels. The clothes were also mentioned as being decorated with golden filigree. Everything actually had some value. It was not like the furniture of the present day, which is cast in valueless plastic or base metal. The way of Vedic civilization is that whatever was used in household affairs had to be valuable. In case of need, such items of value could be exchanged immediately. Thus, once broken and unwanted furniture and paraphernalia would never be without value. This system is still followed by Indians in household affairs. They keep metal utensils and golden ornaments or silver plates and valuable silk garments with golden embroidery. And in case of need, they have some money in exchange immediately. There are exchanges for the money lenders and the householders. Verse 18, translation. The compound of the main household was surrounded by beautiful gardens with sweet, fragrant flowers and many trees which produced fresh fruit and were tall and beautiful. The attraction of such gardens was that singing birds would sit on the trees, and their chanting voices, as well as the humming sound of the bees, made the whole atmosphere as pleasing as possible. Mm, I think yeah, we'll, we'll do words 15 translation again, and we'll offer some prayers and get into the discussion. Translation. The home and household paraphernalia of Kardama Muni was one of the Prajapatis was developed in such a way by dint of his mystic powers of austerity and yoga that his opulence was sometimes envied by those who travel in outer space in airplanes. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Good morning, Juris. Says there were two thoughts that were going through my mind. Um, Sorry, I couldn't invest as much time as I would have liked in the preparation. So thoughts are still raw, but we'll see how the discussion goes. So one of the first thought that as I was reading just the description of the opulence of Kardama Muni and then Mother Devahuti, just as of their household. One of the point that I found interesting also as I was reading um, kind of compilation of different acharyas commentaries. One of the acharya, I think it was Baldevidya Bhushan or Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. They were commenting that in the first verse where it says the home and household paraphernalia of Kardama, and then they also describe that that his opulence was sometimes envied by those who travel in outer space in airplanes. They were clarifying that Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are not categorized into the householder category. So when in comparison of the glory and the opulence of Kardama is being explained here by Sage Maitreya, it's including of all the demigods up till Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. So Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva's opulences is not categorized into the householder paraphernalia. So when it says about sometimes envied by those who travel in outer space, it does not include neither Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva, where unless for any specific pastimes, they are usually considered beyond the material pangs of envy. So Acharya was explaining that it's not does not include Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva, especially because they're not considered into the household category, even though they are in that ashram of having a wife and then kind of family, but they are not technically not considered into the householder. So that I found it interesting. Um, Especially as I was saying, when this whole the glory of um, ivory and Fiji and just this is again is not the first time that the glory and opulence of Kardamamuni and Mother Devati are being explained. Even before, um, almost at the time when Kardamamuni decided that he would like to go into his sannyas ashram, when Mother Devati expressed her desire, Kardamuni then manifested this entire opulence, and even there, much more detailed narrations of how was the what do you call the airplane, as is also being explained here, was there, and kind of even tiny minute details, kind of in many ways it's kind of beyond imagination, like with the opulence that we see at present, um, around us, the opulence that is described in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, especially for Kardamoni, it kind of even boggles the imagination of such a level of opulence. But as I was reading that, it kind of gave kind of two pastimes of Srila Prabhupada came into my head. One of the pastime is from His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj's book, where before he, I think it is one of his initial books where he writes is the first chapter is about his journey of trying to meet a lot of different spiritual masters, and trying to kind of get knowledge of the absolute and trying to understand. And he says that one of the teacher that he went, like one of the spiritual teachers that he went back before even he met Srila Prabhupada, he went and met one of the teachers, and after everything happened, just the students of the teacher were talking around, and they were in an amazing way glorifying the teacher, saying that our teacher is so renounced that he does not even touch anything materially opulent. He does not touch money, he does not touch gold, he does not touch anything of kind of material value. And Giriraj Maharaj was kind of in his from the state he was there, he says that he was thinking that if he does not see value in gold or money, and cannot even use it for the service of others, how can I accept him as my teacher? And in contrast, I think one of the pastimes of Prabhupada, a similar statement was told to Srila Prabhupada, that there are these teachers who do not touch gold. And Srila Prabhupada says, give me all the gold, I'm ready to take it. And it comes from that understanding of Yukta Vairagya, of actually understanding what is the purpose. And same in the case of um, Kardama Muni and Mother Devavati. And in fact, this section from verse 13 till verse 23 is actually categorized. Um, Gaurang Darshan Prabhu in his book, he categorizes this verse 13 to verse 23 as Mother Devoti achieving perfection. So in that specific section, like from 13 to 23 is almost 10 to 11 verses. And out of those 10 to 11 verses, what we are seeing is like almost 40% of the verses are just being kind of utilized just to explain the glory of the surroundings of Mother Devoti. Um, there is there is out of different ways of appreciating the Lord. One of the ways which is utilized quite a lot in by the acharyas, especially from the place where I come from, Ramadasa from Bhadrachalam, he uses this category of Ninda Stuti a lot. On an external level, it appears to be completely blaspheming the Lord. One of the famous bhajans that he says is like Ramadasa is the one who has constructed this amazing temple in Bhadrachalam, and the way he has done is he was a tax collector, and he collected the tax, and the story goes as such that he paid the tax, the amount of the tax that needed to be paid to the Nawab, and with the rest of the amount, he seeked the permission, but the letter never reached the Nawab. He seek the permission to construct this temple, and then he constructs it. Along with construction of the temple, he also um, uh, gets lot of these jewelries and emeralds and pearls and lot of these done. And one of these, and eventually it so happens that the letter never reaches Nawab, and Nawab, with this assumption that the tax money is being used for construction of a temple, then arrests Ramadas. And the jail is we can in Hyderabad in the Golconda Fort we can still go and see the jail where Ramadas was supposed was told to be kind of imprisoned. So moving forward, in one of the bhajans that he says, he actually lists down every single jewelry that he has made for Lord Ramachandra, Lakshmana, and Mother Sita. And then he says, and it's kind of in many ways baffling that he says that I've gone so much of trouble to get you all of this done. I've constructed you a temple. I've um, made you this emerald jewel, and now you're just sitting in the Bhadrachalam and you're enjoying. Do you think it was done by your father, or do you think it was done by your father-in-law? You're just enjoying it while I'm suffering here. It is me who has done it, and you are just enjoying the fruits, and I'm struggling here. For somebody who does not understand the mood of Ramadas, or is not explained, it just appears like a clear blasphemy of the Lord and his as his and his entourage. But that same bhajan is sang with devotion and glorified from centuries along. Because that the Ninda Stuti comes, it appears as the name goes, Ninda Stuti. The name is Ninda, but underlying is the Stuti, or the glorification of that kind of the devotee feels so connected and so close to the Lord that he just does not care about the externals of what, how am I, like in the case of Mother Yashoda. Mother Yashoda is not worried of everything. And recently, I was also hearing a class by my spiritual master, and he was saying that when when Uddhava was sent as a messenger to Vrindavan, whatever that was, their love for Krishna was so high that whatever Uddhava was presenting was just going around. So similarly here, Kardama Muni and Mother Devahutis, their devotion and their attachment to the Lord was so deep. And even in the same commentary section, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that even after kind of undergoing so much of the knowledge that was passed, and the understanding of the devotional service, like an extensive discussion that happened between Mother Devuti and Kapila Dev, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that in the subsequent verses, her attachment to um, the Lord was not as the supreme personality of Godhead. Her attachment to the Lord was as her son. So irrespective of on an extended level, like she has received the entire knowledge of performing devotional service, of her position as a jiva, of the Lord's position as Vibhu. And then there were also a lot of these external pullings of comfort, enjoyment, and there were so many servants that were still there. But in spite of all of that, all of those are in one ways are explained to us to kind of in a contrast to present the position of Mother Devavati, where whatever was externally happening, her attachment and her connection to the Lord was so deep within her, nothing external was kind of was ever able to would ever be able to kind of pull her away from that position, which we also see in the case of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Externally, in fact, even Gadadhar Pandit, who is one of the Panchatattvas, even he couldn't understand unless and until when the verse of Aho Baki Yam Stanakala Kutam, that verse was spoken, and he actually externally manifested the ecstasy that he was enjoying within his heart. till that point, even Gadadhar Pandit was not able to understand. So it just kind of on not just the material opulence is baffling, but also that somebody is able to kind of still maintain that attachment even amidst everything that was happening. And to a degree, from what we have heard, George Harrison also had that deep level of attachment. If he was also in kind of in a relative term, the opulence that Kardamamuni and Mother Devati had in a kind of not on the similar plane, but in a relative term with respect to the time that was in 1960s, the opulence that George Harrison had was also extraordinary. But the deep attachment that he had towards the devotees and towards Srila Prabhupada and towards Radha Gokulananda is also in some case kind of mystical. That somebody was so attached to the devotees that he was ready to kind of let go. And in fact, Srila Prabhupada, when George Harrison was asked, when George Harrison asked Srila Prabhupada that should he let go of everything, um, the money, the opulence that he had, Srila Prabhupada said that from the position where he is, being there is of much more value. So it's not to say that, again, kind of going back to the other point that I was also wanting to discuss, is in the initial stages of performing of the devotional service where we are many a times suggested, encouraged, sometimes might also be kind of little nudged ahead to perform the idea of renunciation, kind of letting go of our attachments and all of that. All of that is internally to kind of bring us to that position of cultivating the deep attachment to the service of Krishna as Mother Devoti is herself in that position of situated of, because her internally her attachment, her magnet, like for let's consider a kind of magnet. When two magnets are so deeply attached, um, even when you kind of bring in other magnet, as long as it is in the same pole, it gets attracted. But if it is not in the same pole, then there is no way that it can kind of get attached. So all the steps of performing the devotional service, with respect to the external aspects of the peripheral aspects of what might somebody might consider it as. Somebody might come back and question that if Krishna Deva Raya could be a king and still be considered as a Vaishnava, or if in the present times, if Kardama Muni and Madhya Devoti could enjoy such lavish enjoyments, if Srila Prabhupada had asked George Harrison to kind of not let go of his opulence, and there's so many cases, Kulashekar Alvar, and in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam also we have so many kings who, like Ambarish Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj, till the point he was the ruler, and the Pandavas. If all of them could perform, why is it that I am being encouraged to let go and renounce and kind of in it, like from the place where I am, it does not appear um, the renunciation is natural. I want to kind of hold on to things. So should I then not follow the idea of, is it to say that for me, because it is unnatural, I should not, because then it's something that's kind of needs a broader discussion also. But the ultimate purpose is to cultivate the deep sense of attachment to the divine couple, and from that deep sense of attachment, irrespective of whatever could be happening externally, then it does not become unnatural. Also, in the same context, recently in one of the podcasts, I believe. Yeah, I think it was podcast or a class that Haripashal Prabhu was giving. Haripashal Prabhu was saying that um, the idea of Mayavad is neti neti, which is naiti naiti, where your entire focus is on kind of negating things like or not. I'm not this. I'm not this. I'm not this. You're kind of constantly in that mode of kind of negating, kind of eliminating things, trying to push away things. But the idea that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us is what we are is first of all clarified. Um, the position of Gopi Bhartur Padakamalayur Dasa Dasana Dasa. So our position is first of all clarified. There is no confusion or kind of the concept of negation of, oh, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not this. Um, the position is first of all clearly clarified that your position is the servant of the servant of the servant of the maintainer of the gopis. So that's clarified. So he was saying that if in if in pursuit of performing the devotional service, all we are trying to do is be detached and be detached and be detached, then eventually we kind of will also fall into the category of neti neti neti. Um, it's not about the focus or emphasis is not just on the detachment, but is the focus is on the positive cultivation of the attachment, like Mother Devoti, Kardama Muni, and Mother Devoti's father, Swayambhu Manu, and later in the times of Swayambhu Manu, Dhruva Maharaj. So Dhruva Maharaj went into the forest in search of this. With a kind of negative emotion, but what he came back is with that positive connection of deep attachment to the Lord. So the emphasis when all of these, which might kind of does not, in one sense, why would somebody spend four powerful verses, like everything that we hear um, from Srila Prabhupada himself said, even one syllable of Srimad Bhagavatam is sufficient. So if one syllable of Srimad Bhagavatam is so sufficient, so why would somebody spend almost 60 or 40% of the section, which is supposed to be glorifying the glory of Mother Devothi's perfection, kind of emphasizing just on the comforts and the what do you say, the household paraphernalia, the comfort, the opulence of the household paraphernalia of Mother Devoti and Kardamoni. It's all to kind of, in an indirect way, is to, as I'm understanding it, as I'm taking it, is to kind of, um, as the Nindastuti goes, is to kind of explain that her attachment to Kapila Dev as a son, it was so deep that anything external of something that might appear so opulent, where it is so opulent that even the people, um, not any random persons, like these amazing and highly qualified demigods who travel in outer space in airplanes, even they are envied. If such an opulence is there, then even that level of highest level of unimaginative and beyond imagination opulence cannot pull her even a kind of 1 inch from her position of deep attachment to the Lord, and to the Lord, not as somebody that is unrelatable or anything, um, but as somebody whom I personally relate to. In her case, somebody who she personally relates to as a son. In in the case of Kulashekar Alvar, somebody, his attachment to Lord Ramachandra was so much that he was thinking that I can protect Lord Ramachandra, like in the case of Vrindavan Vasis, where Nanda Maharaj was thinking that I need to be the person who is holding, otherwise Khana cannot hold Giriraj with to that. In the case of Kulshekara, he was thinking that, oh, I need to go and protect Mother Sita. I need to help Lord Ramchandra. Their attachment was so deep in a personal way, not just on an not just on an external um, intellectual way, but it was so deep within their heart that their connection, they were personally feeling to that. And for such a person who is in that space, who feels that personal attachment, nothing external of any of these opulence or the these opulence, the external manifestations of Krishna's energy, their connection to the internal manifestation of your internal energies is so deep that the external cannot pull them away from the position of that internal deep attachment. So that's my takeaways from this. But if there are any corrections or questions, then we can discuss. If not, then I think we can have a great day. Hare Krishna. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। श्री प्रभुपाद की जय।